Washington mornings on the Mall. 105.9 FM. And AM 630. WMAL.
737 with the Brian and Brian. Standing by on the line, Fox News national security analyst and host of FoxNews.com's DEFCON 3 show, which comes on every Wednesday afternoon at 2 p.m. on live.foxnews.com. Our good friend KT McFarland. Hello, KT. How are you?
Good morning, guys.
Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta has made an unannounced trip to Afghanistan. This comes in the wake, of course, of a U.S. soldier who is accused of shooting 16 Afghan civilians dead. How has the Obama administration handled this tragic matter?
This particular tragic matter, I mean, it's just the whole Afghanistan war has been badly handled by the Obama administration and, frankly, by the Bush administration. And the way I think about Afghanistan, Brian, is it's like a three-legged stool. And you need all three legs to be strong for Afghanistan to be a successful war for us. Your first leg is the military leg, and that's the U.S. military. And our military has done everything we've asked of them from the very beginning, and they've done it extremely well. But it's the political leaders which have failed. They failed to get a competent government in Kabul. The Karzai government is corrupt and it's incompetent and it's not going to change, and it has failed to unify the country, and they've failed to have a strong Afghan army or a strong Afghan police force. And the third leg of that stool is Pakistan. Pakistan has played us for 10 years. They've gotten $20 billion from us. They said they were going to go after the safe havens in Pakistan, and they've not done it. And those two things aren't going to change. Karzai is not going to wake up tomorrow and become a great enlightened leader, and Pakistan is not going to wake up tomorrow and get rid of the safe havens in Pakistan. So as a result, I don't see how Afghanistan has anything other than the situation we now have that just gets worse.
Then do you think it is the best thing to pack up and move out?
Yes.
Really?
Unless you can do those other two things, and I don't think we can, short of a 10-year commitment and an enormous amount of American blood and treasure.
Mm-hmm.
And, look, declare victory. We succeeded in our goal and our mission in Afghanistan in December of 2001, and that was to defeat and destroy al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, and we did. We chased them across the mountains into Afghanistan. They ran across the mountains from Afghanistan into Pakistan. We should have chased them and pursued them and killed them right then and there, and we didn't. And as a result of that, the Pakistanis let al-Qaeda regenerate and become a force again. Now, we've gotten Osama bin Laden, and the president does deserve credit for that, but it's time to why are we nation building in Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Because we think al-Qaeda's going to come back? Look, al-Qaeda has moved on to greener pastures. Al-Qaeda is in Yemen, and it's in Somalia. It may even be in Libya. So it's time to just say Afghanistan is not in America's vital strategic interests, and focus our priorities on the countries which are, like Iran and nuclear weapons.
Well, al-Qaeda is probably in more areas today than they were in 2001, but they're much weaker today, though, than they were in 2001. Would you agree with that?
They're spread out, but
Yeah.
they're spread thin.
Yeah, they've got franchises.
Yeah.
But why we're still in Afghanistan 10 years later to fight an enemy that's already left? Afghanistan, al-Qaeda left. We stuck around.
To build up, and it's almost impossible to do there. I think a lot of people have been thinking that for some time. I do want to change subjects on you because I saw the interview that CBS and 60 Minutes had with the former head of the Mossad, the intelligence agency in Israel. I think his name is Mir Dagan, where he said, and I couldn't believe this, he said that Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was rational. He said, quote, not exactly our rational, but I think he is rational, and said that the worst thing that could happen for Israel was to actually bomb Iran now. A couple questions on that. Number one, is he right? Number two, how well thought of is this guy? I mean, he's a well-respected man in Israel and in the intelligence community in general.
Yeah, sure he is. But this whole is he rational? Is he not? I don't know what that means. Does he think like us? Do leaders in Afghanistan think like us? Do leaders in Tehran think like us?
Mm-hmm.
No, and that's one of the biggest mistakes we make is to assume that everybody has our values, everybody thinks like us. They don't. So forget the sort of litmus test of who's rational, who's not. Those countries act in their own self-interest as they see their own self-interest. So when we have, for example, people like Secretary Clinton says, Iran has to realize that it's not going to be safer with nuclear weapons. No, sorry, sweetie. Iran doesn't have to realize that. Iran thinks of its own reality. And so don't assume that they think the way we do.
All right, but is he saying that their rationale is that, hey, they're not going to actually use nuclear weapons on Israel?
I think Iran, but Israel can't afford to assume that. You can't take a country that exists only because a few people weren't killed in the Holocaust and say, look, trust this guy. Even if he gets nukes, he's not going to use them.
Right.
Even if he says he's going to obliterate you on a weekly basis. You can't assume that. You can't assume that he'll have them, but he won't use them. Now, our U.S. calculation may be different, but Israel can't afford to make that assumption. And I think, secondly, what is Iran's goal in all of this? Iran wants nuclear weapons. For sure they want nukes. But the nukes is only part of what they want. The second thing they want is to control that whole region from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean Sea, from Iran to Iraq to Syria to the Med, and thereby controlling the Gulf, the Persian Gulf, and the Strait of Hormuz, which gives them control over the world's oil supply.
Right.
And once they've got that, if you control 40% of the exported oil in the world, you control the world economy. And so that's a far more ambitious goal that Iran has than just merely having nuclear weapons.
Well, around the time that Benjamin Netanyahu was here just recently, we apparently learned that the Israelis asked American, I guess the Department of Defense, for those big bunker busters. Said, we really need them. Can we have yours? Because apparently ours can get it done and theirs can't. Have you heard anything more about that? And would it be a good idea to give it to them?
Brian, there were rumors that there was a deal cut between Obama and Netanyahu, that Obama wants Netanyahu to wait until after the election because he doesn't want to have a crisis in the Middle East before the election. And in exchange for that, Obama was going to bribe Netanyahu with two things. Airplanes that can refuel Israeli jets in the air. Israel only has 4 of them. They'll probably need more of them because they can't make it all the way from Israel to Iran and back without refueling.
Right.
The second thing is these bunker buster bombs, and those are bombs that go deep underground and explode deep underground that would be effective against the Iranian nuclear sites that are buried deep underground. Now, both sides have denied that trade was made. To me, though, if that trade was made, when is it delivered? That would be the question, because if Israel is going to trust Obama with their very existence, and I don't think Israel can trust their very existence to anybody. I don't think they can outsource their security. And Netanyahu has said it. We've got to provide for our security by ourselves. We can't rely on other countries to do it for us. And so Israel's got to make a calculation. At some point they've got to say, how much time have we given? How much is enough time that we've given for diplomacy to work, and it hasn't? And how much time do we have left before Iran gets nukes and before Iran deeply hardens its facilities so that we can't attack? And how much time do we have until the U.S. election? Because I don't think anybody assumes that President Obama reelected and in a second term is necessarily going to have Israel's back.
All right, KT. Great to have you on as always. We appreciate